What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. A long time coming TNA pay-per-views. I've often said that I'm interested in doing some sort of TNA pay-per-view review, but it was all talk. I never followed up until now. The reason why I chose Bound for Glory 2007 is because it's widely considered to be the best Bound for Glory pay-per-view and one of the best pay-per-views in TNA history. And some very bad stuff, but on the other side, it was flat out amazing. A lot of people look back fondly on this time period for TNA. And a lot of the guys at the time were in their peak, you know, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage. The young talent was hungry, and it just made for a good era. Obviously, in between, TNA did what they do best, that being screw up. But it's better to look at the positives. And I think despite what anyone says about this era, you know, the negatives, they certainly prefer it to the Hogan-Bischoff time period. So right now, let's get into it. Bound for Glory 2007 was held in the Gas South Arena in Atlanta, Georgia on October 14th, 2007. 4,000 were in attendance, and the buy rate was around 40,000. Anyways, let's get into it. First match on the show is the Ultimate X match. XXX, Elix, Skipper, and Senshi faced LAX, Hernandez, and Homicide. Winner challenges to the tag titles. Right out of the gate, the damn match was already intense. Hernandez was whooping ass inside and outside the ring, and LAX were pretty damn over. They showed teamwork in the early going, and from out of nowhere, though, Senshi popped up and Homicide was already climbing up. Because of this, Triple X found their opening. Scratch that, Hernandez, the big bastard, suddenly recovered. Homicide didn't learn his lesson from last time around and paid the price. Nonetheless, Hernandez went back to work, and none of the teams were dominant. Rather, it was back and forth. Hernandez, though, had a huge advantage due to his size. Like, just look at this. Senshi's desperate to knock him down, but Hernandez just dropped him, and from out of nowhere, Homicide hit the damn Topa Suicida. In the ring, Skipper was taken a beat down, and the big guy suddenly felt ambitious and climbed up to the top. He was pretty damn close to retrieving the X, but Skipper caught up, and before we knew it, Senshi's up there. So Hernandez grabbed him and hit this rough-ass sit-down powerbomb. From out of nowhere, Skipper then caught him with a super crossbody, and in my mind, I'm like, this is what the mid to late 2000s TNA was all about. Fans were loudly chanting, "This is awesome," and all of a sudden, Homicide hit a damn neck breaker. But despite all the wear and tear, Homicide and Senshi followed up, and this time around, it was different. Homicide took the Warriors' way, and that crowd was all in on the action. After that, Hernandez was ready to take flight, but Skipper put a stop and ended up getting border tossed out of there for his troubles, and because of his actions, this gave way to LAX grabbing the X and winning the match. Wow. That was the ultimate spot fest match. It was never ever dull. Hernandez was just fun to watch as the big guy caused some destruction. And the other three were flying inside and outside the ring, and it made for a good matchup. It was a perfect match to open the show, and it didn't overstay its welcome at all. You know, like despite all the chaos unfolding, this match only lasted 11 minutes. Meanwhile, Crystal interviewed Christian and his coalition. Captain Charisma was pretty pissed off and spoke about the TNA title tournament and how Samoa Joe cost him. And he felt that he was very deserving of the title, but Joe's to blame. He told him that while he may be looking for his biggest victory, he, Christian, is looking to continue his unbeaten streak. He's like, if you don't know, now you know when AJ Styles gets interviewed. He's much more vibrant and excited about tonight because it's in his hometown, but Tomko grabbed that mic and warned the truth, and Pac-Man Jones, oh yeah, Pac-Man Jones was actually in TNA. The next match was the Reverse Battle Royal. The rules were this: 16 men start on the outside. First 8 to enter the ring are inserted into an over-the-top rope battle royal. Final 2 then face off in a match, and those are the rules. Pretty random, but hey, TNA's gonna TNA. Jimmy Rave, Lance Hoyt, Havoc, Shark Boy, Petey Williams, Motor City Machine Guns, Sanjay Dutt, Voodoo King Mafia, James Storm, Eric Young, Robert Roode, Chris Harris, and Junior Fatu participated in this match. Okay, the bell rings, they're brawling, and even though it was simple, the stipulation made them look like idiots. Like, just look at Eric Young, it just didn't make sense. They're brawling, stupidities in the air, and there's the 8 men. James Storm managed to beat out his former partner and basically take the spot from under him. Chris Harris was pissed, but there was nothing to do. Okay, now that match is normal. From out of nowhere, James Storm was thrown out by Eric Young. Fatu was dropping everybody in sight, and Young started doing stuff. Robert Roode took a chokeslam. Fatu was stacking him up and dropping his ass as well, and this greatly frustrated Lance Hoyt, who bounced back with a boot. Kaz follows up with a drop kick, Robert Roode with a clothesline, and there's the opening. The Motor City Machine Guns then come in with a drop kick, and out he goes. 6 remain. As the commentary was saying, Shelley and Sabin had a huge advantage compared to the others. They were actually doing work with their fast-paced offense, and they shined bright. Sabin hit this wicked leg drop, and while that offense was doing wonders, it also proved to be disastrous for Chris Sabin. Kaz and Roode managed to hold on, but their egos got the best of them, and Kaz fell victim. Hoyt got a little ahead of himself, and so Roode pushed him out. Now 3 remain: Robert Roode, Eric Young, and Alex Shelley. Roode was absolutely in form at this point. He was countering moves and eliminating others in the process, and so 2 remained: Now it's time for a regular match. Those two traded blows. Young countered a backdrop and almost stole the match twice. He went for a moonsault and found nobody, and Robert Roode was going for something. Then all of a sudden, Showtime catches him with the inside cradle. 1, 2, 3, and there's the winner. Roode was raging hard, I assume because he realized how bad this match actually was. Well, that was something. The premise is unique, 16 men tried to squeeze into the ring, but did anybody realize how bad that it would look? A lot of the guys were walking around without a thought in their mind to enter the ring, and you'd think it was like in video games how an area is locked or something. Like, how do you explain that? After that, the match isn't bad, but then again, I love Battle Royals. Shelly and Sabin were fun to watch. The singles part was over before it properly began, and overall, it was a weird-ass match. Like, many consider this to be one of the worst matches of 2007. Like, that's how bad it was. They should have just simplified it and made it a battle royal from the very beginning without the whole reverse battle royal thing. Like, it was just unnecessary. As I said, a bunch of the guys looked like idiots. Young did nothing with the victory as he was eliminated in the tournament soon afterwards. Backstage, Rhino, Truth Killings, and Adam Pac-Man Jones spoke about their upcoming match. Truth praised Tom Cohen Styles but said they're better. He was also very confident on Pac-Man's performance, saying he's got a great resume, and Pac-Man then talked about Atlanta and how he's representing and how tonight those two should buckle up. Meanwhile, Kurt Angle is once again arguing with his wife. Why? Because he slapped Sting's kid, and she got angry with him about this, and that's all. Okay. The next match is for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. AJ Styles and Tomko challenged Rhino, Truth Killings, and Adam Pac-Man Jones. So Adam Jones, of the Tennessee Titans at the time, randomly decided to join TNA. Funny part about this is he couldn't really wrestle. Add to that, the man had huge problems earlier in the year, yet they signed him despite this. There was a lot of controversy about Adam Jones signing with the company, but despite all of this, he was a damn champion. Why? I don't know. But for all that talk that he's champion or something along the lines of that, it was something he couldn't back up. This is all because the NFL didn't allow him to participate in any physical activities outside the turf, yet he was champion. So he's replaced by Consequences Creed. Okay, AJ and Creed start things off. Collar and elbow, both men try working the arm. AJ's got a little ahead of himself, and the commentary felt that this was because of the element of surprise. AJ and Tomko prepared for somebody else. Creed was fast, elusive, and this pissed off Tomko, who gets the tag. Sells a strike, and just as he's ready to do something, Truth tags in. He wastes too much time looking elsewhere and saw that Truth drop kicks him. And off the ropes, he catches him with that spinning elbow. He showcased his speed, athletic ability, and once again, Creed was in. They're doing some double team, but from out of nowhere, Tomko catches them with a boot, and now AJ's in. Those two start jumping around, trying to fool each other, but it was Styles who won this battle. He's trying to wear him down, but at this point, it's not working. Creed was still in form. He tags in Rhino, Truth, and he goes for the front suplex, and as he goes for the clothesline, AJ catches him with a Pele kick. Tom goes in, and he's got the hot tag. He's kicked up the intensity, and the others get involved, and it was fun stuff. They were trading moves when all of a sudden, Pac-Man pulls the rope from under Tomko, but nonetheless, he's got consequences. From out of nowhere, Killings dives onto him, and Styles remained in the ring, but it wasn't for long as he hit this awesome shooting star. All of a sudden, Pac-Man's looking to bribe the ref, and this worked against him. The ref was actually thinking right for a moment, but it cost Killings. AJ and Tomko double team Truth, and this culminated with a phenomenal forearm. 1, 2, 3, new champions. Good tag team match. I do think it's funny how Pac-Man couldn't wrestle yet was a champion, but despite that, I thought it was enjoyable. And while it's not something you'll be thinking about another time, it was a fun watch for me. Backstage, Karen's desperate to have Kevin Nash speak with Kurt Angle to make things right, and he initially was refusing to actually go through with it because he knew how hard-headed the champ was, but nonetheless, he obliged. The next match is the X Division Championship. The Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels challenged Black Machismo Jay Lethal for the gold. So around this time period, Jay Lethal had a hell of a lot of momentum after upsetting Kurt Angle. Fallen Angel, though, put a halt to that momentum by scoring the W against the X Division Champion, and that's how the match was made. Machismo was, of course, created during the whole Kevin Nash X Division story. That's one thing we gotta mention. Right out of the gate, those two were pretty damn quick. Machismo forgot himself for a moment because of this. Daniels tried taking advantage. From out of nowhere, he took both a Hurricane and Suicide Dive, and so it wasn't bad for Black Machismo. Barring that little moment where the challenger struck. He was struggling around here, but then came his moment where he caught Lethal by dropping him twice onto the guardrail. With this, the complexion of the match changed gradually. He went all in on the back. Lethal, though, almost caught him with a few pinfalls, but nonetheless, the Fallen Angel was in control. Blue Thunderbomb gets him a 2 count. It's clear as day that the guardrail incident did a number on Lethal. He counters a backdrop and goes to the head scissors, and it was time for the comeback. Lethal hits the neck breaker and then a suplex, but Daniels kicked down. Nice counter almost leads to Lethal's victory, and he catches Daniels 2 count again. As he goes to the springboard, Daniels catches him with a variation of the Death Valley Driver, and he hits the BME 1, 2, no, and this frustrates the challenger. He was incensed with Lethal's resiliency and walks into a full Nelson suplex. Both men recover. Lethal walks into the turnbuckle, and the Fallen Angel prepares for the Hurricanrana. This wasn't to be, and Lethal goes to the elbow, and once again, this wasn't successful, but nonetheless, he kicked out. This is awesome. Chant intensifies. Both men battle it out on the top rope, and this concludes with Lethal dropping Daniels with the Lethal combination. 1, 2, 3. Another fun match. This pay-per-view just keeps on giving. Daniels was doing some good work trying to keep Lethal isolated, and the champion played his part well, and it seemed like he only won this because of a little mistake by the challenger. Enjoyable stuff. It's not outstanding or anything like that, but it was good in my eyes. Meanwhile, Scott Steiner was rambling on about Team 3D and how they're out of their minds, and he randomly says that they're going to take splinters out of their fat asses.
You're going to be taking splinters out of your fat asses, because you got some fat asses.
If there was a museum for internet wrestling memes, this certainly belongs. I don't know why Steiner hates fat people, but he certainly does. What I love about him is that he doesn't care about what he's saying. He continues on as if it's nothing, and that's what makes him entertaining. You don't know what he's going to say. Like, take, for example, this promo. It's like he hates Samoa Joe more for being fat rather than his actions. And I don't know what's harder, trying to decipher a Scott Steiner promo or that Ahmed Johnson one from Warzone. The next match is a 2 out of 3 falls table match. Team 3D face the Steiner brothers. Two of the greatest tag teams from the 90s clash. This storyline had been brewing for months as the Dudleys drove a chair into Scott's throat and he was seeking redemption. Scott didn't give them time to enter the ring and instead brought the fight. They made their way to the ring and Big Papa Pump was all fired up. So Team 3D opted to walk. Rick and Scott took notice and brought them back in, and for some reason Scott was obsessed with tossing beer at them. The dog-faced gremlin, meanwhile, was throwing trash cans at Devon, and the heels just couldn't figure it out at this point. It was 100% Steiner Brothers, and Bubba even called for a timeout at one moment. Things were looking quite bleak for Team 3D, but from out of nowhere, they caught Rick, and it was 1-0. Bubba and Devon managed to turn things around, and it was looking like Scott was next, but he low-blowed Bubba and connected with a Frankensteiner. It's all even now. Devon tries going for the headbutt but found nobody, and this gives way to Scott beginning his comeback, although that would quickly go awry as Bubba low-blowed him. He took off his belt and whooped him. Rick was down and out, and because of this, Team 3D had a huge advantage. Speaking of that, was Rick Steiner sleeping or something? Because he was gone for a very, very, very long time. At one point, the table randomly gave way, and it obviously didn't count because Scott didn't go through it. They were looking to take him out completely. The ref was pushed away, and all of a sudden, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley came out to Scott's aid. He avoided a chair, Bubba took the shot, and Rick comes in. They double team him with a bulldog to win the match. Hey, not a bad one. Just dragged at times for me, and I would prefer if they would have cut some of it down. I expected less than this, honestly. I thought they were going to be much more disappointing or something, but they proved me wrong, and I'm glad to say that. Backstage, ODB decided to trash the other competitors in the back. Angel Williams took great offense to ODB's criticism towards her, but they ran away upon seeing Awesome Kong. The next match was a gauntlet match for the TNA Women's Knockout Championship. This is, of course, when TNA decided to introduce a Women's Championship, and this match was to crown the first ever champion. Miss Brooks and Miss Jackie Moore kicked things off. Out of nowhere, Jackie struck first. Tracy struggled greatly early on, and all of a sudden it was time for the next entrant, Shelly Martinez. She quickly provokes Jackie, and unlike Brooks, actually accomplished something. Suddenly it's time for somebody else, and yes, it was Awesome Kong. The woman in the ring realized things were going to get serious. Now, for explanation, she had just debuted recently and was already causing chaos, and so they didn't know what was up with her. You know, she's unpredictable. Brooks, Martinez, and Jackie quickly went after her, but it amounted to nothing. But ODB was here. She took her time entering, and in the ring, Awesome Kong dominated. By the time ODB was in, the other three were out, and those two battled it out, and suddenly, Angel Williams enters the match. She bravely went after Awesome Kong, but paid the price for it severely. Because of this, those two realized that they had to work together. Even then, Kong was damn near unstoppable, and next up was Christy Hemme. Right when she entered, she realized this might be a wrong time, but it was too late. She was dominated unlike anybody else in the match and had to be stretchered out of there. As this was going on, Gail Kim entered. She kicked off her part of the match with a bang as she immediately brought the fight to Awesome Kong. She was no-selling a bunch of their moves, but after the others started attacking, this would all change, and then there was a wardrobe malfunction. Yes, she was eliminated. Talia Madison entered next, and now there's a much more even playing field. Angel Williams got a little over her head and was kicked out, and it was time for the final entrant, Roxy Laveau. Around this time, Talia was thrown out, ODB was punched out, and so remained two, Roxy and Gail. Since it's TNA, this was of course a one-on-one match now. The Voodoo Queen was pretty quick, but Gail Kim was going high up. She went to the wall one too many times and paid the price for it. And as Roxy's trying to go for something, Gail Kim almost steals it with a pinfall attempt. They were trading pinfall attempts from out of nowhere, though. Gail Kim caught Roxy with the Emerald Flosion to win the title. The first ever Knockout Women's Champion. And the match itself is a battle royal. You guys know what I think about them. The singles portion didn't last long. One thing I could take away from this match is how well TNA Impact Wrestling has treated Gail Kim over the years. There's always some high regard and respect when it comes to her, and this is proof of that. Awesome Kong was pretty entertaining in this match, just like a one-woman wrecking crew causing destruction and chaos all over, and so she's woman of the match. It's easy as day. Yes, I prefer this one than the reverse battle royal thing. That beginning was just absolutely horrendous in that matchup. Meanwhile, Kevin Nash tried informing Kurt that he's got to apologize to Sting, and he burst out. He called Nash a pussy, said that he's delusional, and because of this, Kevin told Kurt that he's going to pay the price and he's not going to go out there. In response, Angle made fun of him questioning Nash's health. He's like, oh, you were going to come out there or something along the lines of that. And the man was raging and was worried over everything. So Angle responded saying he's already lost everything and wanted to go.
I'm gonna go take a great big nasty Nash.
Okay, now the pay-per-view turns into something. There's a reason why this pay-per-view is considered one of the best Bound for Glory pay-per-views. Here's why. The next match is between Samoa Joe and Christian Cage. Not only that, but Matt Morgan was going to be the special enforcer. Also, is it just me who thinks this, but isn't Morgan a special enforcer? Like, why is he out there with no shirt on? On the topic of Christian and Samoa Joe, they are firing on all cylinders. Especially Christian. He managed to rank on the kayfabe Pro Wrestling Illustrated at number 7 that year, which was his highest ever. And he was truly the man in TNA. And similar to Gail Kim, they treated him with respect and regarded him as a true main event talent. Samoa Joe, on the other hand, he was doing well, but obviously they could have done more with him. His run was botched harder than a Sin Cara match, and that would show in the coming years. Like, this man has only one world title to his name in TNA. At times, I just can't fathom that. He deserves at least 3 or 4 in my personal opinion, but he never got them. Damn shame. But anyways, let's talk about the match. Christian was technically unbeaten up to this point, and they were hammering in that fact. Collar and elbow tie-up. Joe quickly drops Christian, leaving him somewhat offended. He was excelling with the power game, and that damn crowd was rabid. Christian, though, got a shot in and paid the price. But he avoided disaster and found an opening. He takes a knee from the second rope, and back to being on defense. Christian was screwing up badly here, and Joe, on the other hand, had the crowd support and the power game by his side. He was chopping the hell out of him, kicking him repeatedly in the face, and Don West felt that the unbeaten record was going to come to an end. But the Instant Classic had some tricks up his sleeve. He, of course, didn't do much in the long run because Joe was almost untouchable here. He caught Christian with a suicide dive, and the way he goes through those ropes is a sight. Once again, Samoa Joe kicked Christian's head in, but then Captain Charisma pulled a huge counter from out of nowhere, and there's the opening. Now all of a sudden it was Joe who was struggling. Christian was intelligently trying to wear him down. This also gave him time to recuperate. Joe was starting to fight back, but he was dropped with the inverted DDT. But despite this, his frog splash was nowhere to be found. This gave Joe his chance, and he made the most out of it in order to kick Christian right out of there. On the outside, he bumps into Matt Morgan, who just randomly shouted at him, and Joe once again dives out. Comeback is unlocked. More in this moment, but Joe's like, F this. He clotheslined Christian back to the WWE, yet it wasn't enough for the 3 count, and because of this, he felt that it was time for the Muscle Buster. That wasn't to be. They trade counters, and Joe was just extremely fast and agile. He was efficiently executing a bunch of moves in the span of 10 seconds. He'd have these moments where he'd be like, oh, I'm gonna just hit as many moves as I can effortlessly. This also hurt him because Christian caught him and almost stole the match. Suddenly, though, Joe almost had the clutch locked in, and he quickly avoids it and walks into a kick. Power slam. Christian kicks out. They fought atop the turnbuckle, and it ended well for neither man. Then Tomko comes out. Matt Morgan didn't want this, and they engaged in a big man brawl. Then AJ Styles comes out, and he attempts the forearm, but Morgan just grabbed him and tossed him away. The man was doing work like his contract depended on it. He ran after them, and meanwhile Christian low blow Joe and hit the unprettier 1, 2, no. So he opted to go for the sleeper. It was a dire situation, yet Samoa Joe fought back and broke free before kicking Christian and hitting the Muscle Buster. Joe follows up with a clutch, and Christian was fighting to break free, but he failed, and Samoa Joe was victorious. Out of all the classic matches I've watched this month, this just might be the very best match I've seen. The pace was so damn fast, and both men didn't let go. They showed everybody what's up in the spots. The story itself, I was very impressed. For certain, in my personal opinion, it's match of the night. Matter of fact, it was already match of the night when they just stepped into the ring. I mean, it's 2007 Samoa Joe and 2007 Christian Cage. What the hell do you expect? They were operating at an extremely high level. This was a top 10, maybe even top 5 match for TNA that year, in my personal opinion. Great work. Backstage, Kevin Nash tried confronting Sting, but Stinger, though, didn't want to hear it. It was personal with Kurt Angle, and he questioned why Kevin was protecting him. He said that this is the closest he'll ever be to the main event, and while Sting was somewhat remorseless, he told him that tonight, game over. The next match is the Fatal 4-Way Monsters Ball match. Abyss, Black Rain, Rhino, and Raven face off. Rhino didn't let things settle in and preferred to fight before Abyss entered the match. Abyss ran in and quickly dominated, but his momentum was halted with a stick from Raven. Rhino brought in a shopping cart and blasted the guys with a lid. He inflicted damage in all kinds of ways with a golf cart, a shopping cart, and to set up a clash with Abyss. He pushed him over the top rope, and just as he turns, Raven tries to capitalize. He fails, and once again Rhino was dominant. Black Rain was doing absolutely nothing, and speaking of Rhino, he took a huge risk with a gore and went through a wall. At this point, Raven was bleeding and he decides to drop an elbow on Abyss from the top. Because of this, Black Reign dragged Abyss to the ring. 1, 2, no. Raven then comes in and those two start to have issues, and so Black Reign hit Shattered Dreams. All of a sudden, Rhino is back. He gores Reign and Raven bounces back, blasting everybody. Then all of a sudden, James Mitchell ran in with a bag full of broken glass. This didn't end well for him because Abyss hit the black hole slam and Mitchell was incensed. This was messy as hell, but there was something about it I liked. It's not the best match or anything like that. Matter of fact, I don't really like these type of matches. This was kind of enjoyable. Nice way to wrap up the undercard. And the main event, Sting challenges Kurt Angle for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Finally, this feud had been going on for about 2 months around this time period. And I was actually working on that video 5 months ago. I never finished it because of a couple of other things. I eventually will. With that said, Kurt Angle 2007 was a specimen. I often say his WWE run from 99 to 2006 is better than his TNA run, but every single time I go back to TNA, I doubt that sentiment. It was wrestling not at 100%, rather 120, and it showed. He was pulling no punches and always put on a show, even when he didn't need to. And this match was yet another positive for his and Sting's career. So let's talk about it. Immediately, Sting was ready. It was all personal because Angle slapped his son at his own home, and for Angle, it was homecoming, the place where it all began, Atlanta, Georgia. He's being pressured by Sting and tried to slow things down, but that attack was too much for him initially. The fact that he ran outside did nothing to Sting as he was still intense on the offense. He was being punished inside and outside the ring, and sometimes Angle did it to himself. He wasn't thinking properly. Then he raked the eyes and caught Sting with the German suplex. After about 7 minutes of a one-sided battle, Kurt Angle finally set into the match. He began applying pressure to the challenger, trying to wear him down, and after about 3 minutes, Sting started fighting back, but in the process, took a clothesline from Angle. The ref began counting and they both recovered at the count of 8. Both men began trading blows. Angle transitioned to uppercuts, but it didn't matter because Sting hit the spinebuster. He takes a Stinger Splash twice and a Bulldog. He goes up top, but Angle catches up and hits the belly to belly for the 2 count. Angle attempts the Angle Slam, but almost loses the title because of this. So he goes back to the German suplex. He had a hat trick of them, but it gets him a 2 count. He's like, screw this, and went for the ankle lock. Sting's eager to escape, and he did just that and locked in the Scorpion. Suddenly, Karen runs in and gives way to Kevin Nash, and he clotheslines Sting, and Kurt hits the Olympic Slam. The ref was on the outside, but once he was in, Sting kicked out. The champion thought he should go big, but that didn't work to his favor. Sting fails to connect, but nonetheless kicked out. Then from out of nowhere, Kurt hit a freaking 450, and it was so damn random, yet Sting kicked out. He goes to the ankle lock, but Sting pulls him in, and he knocks down Nash. Kurt hits the ref, and Sting successfully hits the Scorpion Death Drop. By the time another ref came in, Kevin Nash pulls him out and blasts him. Fans boo, and Nash decides to get physical, but Sting knocked him down and took a low blow. Angle attempts to blast him with a bat, but fails, and Sting clocks both men. And then he goes for the Scorpion Death Drop. 1, 2, 3. New champion. Great match. That was pretty damn enjoyable, and it probably would have gone down better without the overbooking, the interferences, but nonetheless, it's a match I recommend you watch. It's just so random to see a 450 splash coming from Kurt Angle. Like, you're accustomed to seeing him as the no-nonsense amateur wrestler, and we all know about that front flip from about a year later. But yes, that was a good-ass match. Great way to end the show. Overall, Bound for Glory 2007 was just a fun watch. If you like TNA, especially from this time period, this pay-per-view is highly recommended. Obviously, you're going to hate the reverse battle royal. You're going to be like, why the hell am I watching this? Because it is pure stupidity. It was the worst match from this pay-per-view, bar none. But when it was positive, it slapped harder than Stephanie McMahon. You had Christian and Samoa Joe going at it in an epic encounter. The best match of the night, in my personal opinion. They went at it at 100%, and they delivered all around. The main event, as well, it was pretty damn good, despite the overbooking, that nonsense. So yeah. What do you guys think of Bound for Glory 2007? Please comment down below and answer for this video. Make sure you hit the muscle buster on the like button and perhaps the Olympic slam on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.